In this RailsCast, I'm going to be talking about refactoring. First of all, what is refactoring? It is improving the design of code without actually changing its functionality. You may want to do that to remove duplication and improve maintainability and readability. First, let's get started. We have here a list of users. When you click on a user, it goes to their profile page. Right now, it just lists their name there. Also notice that some users have no middle initial while some do. Let me take a look at the code. Here's our index.html file, which is the users list. It grabs the users, loops through them, and right here, this big chunk of code here is displaying their name. If we look at the profile page, the show page, we have that same chunk of code that's displaying the name, and it's duplicated. Duplication is not good. If you look at this code specifically, you can see that the name is split up into 3 columns. There's first name, middle initial, and last name. We split it up so that we can have this middle initial with a period displayed only if the middle initial is nil. So we don't want to display the period with the middle initial if it's nil. So then we just display the first name and last name. Okay, how do you think we should improve this, refactor this code? One way is to move it into a helper method. But this code doesn't have any HTML in it, and it's not very view related. It's more related to specifically the user model. So a good spot to move this code is into the user model. Here's what I'm thinking. What if we create a method in this user model and call it full name? Then we could just call full name like this. And we could do the same in the index, but let's try to implement this. So we go to the user model, and we need to create a new method in this user model, full name. And then we need to duplicate what we were doing in the view. Here's what we were doing in the view, which is, of course, won't work here. One way to do that is to have a local variable and store the name result in this local variable. Let's do this. So we're just appending the rest of the name to the local variable, and then we return it. So let's see how this works. Let's see how it looks in the view. Let's save it. And we only changed the profile page, so let's click the name. Uh-oh, that didn't work. One problem is that we're referencing this user variable, but there's no user variable inside of the user model, so we just remove that. Since we're inside of the model, we don't need to call the method through the user. The method is just available because we're in the user. And I forgot one more spot. There we go. Okay, it's almost working. It's just missing a couple spaces. We can solve that by adding a space here and the middle initial too. There we go. So now this method is working. Let's check user1 real quick. Okay. So now that we have this full name method implemented, all we have to do is go to we want to implement it in the user list as well. So here we are referencing not the instance variable user, just this user. Let's see how that works. Go to user list, and that's working as well. There's one more bit of improving we can do here. You see we're using a manual anchor tag here. We are not using link to. We had to do that because the username was so complex it couldn't fit into link to. So now we can just create a link to here and user full name and the user path. Great. So I'd say that's a pretty big improvement to what we had before. There's no duplication now, and everything's all nicely packed into the user model. So this code is still can be improved. I see an improvement, but I'll cover that in a future episode. I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor Peepcode. They make very high quality screencasts on Ruby on Rails, so if you've enjoyed these RailsCasts, I think you will enjoy them too. Check them out at peepcode.com.